So this is the amazing venue for the wedding. And I've done a lot of filming, there's still quite a bit to do. Such an amazing setting though.
Welcome to another episode of Toby's Stupid Vlog.
Hang on. Here we go. 2, 3.
Good morning. This is our view from the hotel in Farnham, where we stayed last night after the wedding. It's very nice actually. It's quite enormous. It's lots of different buildings joined together, different ages. So you can see sort of 1930s chimney blocks, and then you can see what look like sort of old Georgian chimney blocks. It's not, and then the bit we're in is sort of more sort of 1980s, but it's quite enormous. It's a familiar sight. Strangely welcome in a way to be back in Kew in the muggy wetness. Overly shopping in M&S about twice a day. Yeah, it's a pleasant change from all the chaos, albeit technically a holiday. Anyway, it was a lovely holiday in the Lake District, as I'm sure you saw if you saw the last vlog ago or one before that. Can't remember, lost track, been a bit rubbish in uploading them as well, so apologies. It was a little wetter than we'd hoped, but not terrible, and we did a little less walking than I'd hoped, but that's partly because of the two smallest members who have nap requirements and whatnot. Anyway, sort of back to work now. This week is a bit sorty-outy, trying to plan what things I'm filming in September and get to grips with the wedding video that I shot at the weekend. And then I've got a couple of RHP evenings, although nothing particularly heavy. And I'm in at USP on Friday. Hello there. We need to talk about Greece again. Because it's all over Twitter and it's all over the world and it's all over every news front page. The deal's been done, finally, between the creditors and Greece. The creditors being the EU, the IMF and the European Central Bank. And some people are very unhappy. Most noticeably some Greek citizens. They have every right to be very unhappy because there's going to be some quite dramatic changes to pay for Greece's debts. But they're unhappy at the wrong people. You can be unhappy with the creditors and you can be unhappy with the system. But you can't change the system simply because you don't like it. Everyone has to want to change the system to change it. Some people are saying this is a very bad day for Europe. It's not a great day, but I don't think it's overly bad. I'm going to try and simplify it with an analogy yet again. This is oversimplification, I grant you. But broadly speaking, if you considered Greece to be a business, and you consider the EU in this case to be a bank, imagine a business taking out a loan, then being unable to repay it and asking for a loan extension, and the bank being very generous and saying, yeah, sure. And then that happening again, and next time they're saying, well, no, okay, this time you need to change some things. And Greece says, okay. And then it doesn't. And then it comes back again and says, now I don't want to repay the loan because I don't like your terms. We changed our management and they don't agree with them. So let's negotiate again. And the bank says, well, you still got to repay the money. You don't get off that easily. The only way that we're going to lend you any money is if we have a say over how your country is run, your company in this instance, because it's terrible and it's never been able to raise the money it's promised and what have you. So yeah, it does look like you know, you're running roughshod over democracy, but the reality is the rest of us, the rest of the European Union citizens have put money in some form or another to help this. And we don't get a say in how that money's recouped, how taxpayers' money is recouped. So it is only fair to a certain extent that as the people who've done the propping up, we should be assured of our return in some form. And that does mean that, you know, Greece needs to really, really sort itself out. Now, do I think this is the best option? No. Do I think this is an acceptable option? Yes. What would be my preference? My preference would be that Greece leaves the euro and the EU. And that would cause some short-term problems, not least for the EU. Sorry, change of day because my camera ran out of space. To finish the thought, I was going to say that it's clear from history that Greece has no ability to manage itself and therefore easily repay the debts and fulfil the promises that it's made. And this is why the EU is being a bit interventionalist. So there we go. That's where we are. I've just had a guy come around to see if he could fit the new sink and the bath panel to finally get the kitchen and the bathroom back to where they should be. Seems quite reasonable. So that's hopeful. I'm hopeful that's going to go ahead. Tonight I have the AGM for RHP, which I'll be going to a bit later on. I don't know where I'm wearing a hoodie. It's ever so warm. That's probably just confusion. It's actually turned into a lovely afternoon despite the fact it's supposed to be a bit rubbish today. So I've decided to start walking to Teddington for the AGM. And we'll see how it goes. It doesn't actually take that long. According to Google, it'll only take an hour and a half. I've left myself an hour and 50 minutes just in case. But yeah, this could be quite fun. Haven't really done a walk in a week, so make the most of the particularly pleasant situation. So side note, which I should have mentioned a couple of weeks ago actually when it happened, but you know, busy and on holiday and whatnot. Jack is back. Jack is back from the world. He was in different bits of it. I just took a little trip myself. And yes, he's back. And yes, he's not dead. So order is restored to the world. And the women in the United Kingdom are no longer safe. Sorry. We have slightly ruined the country whilst he's been away, but I'm sure he'll forgive us. Well, that didn't take long. It's 20 minutes and we're just approaching Richmond Station. Still have an hour and a half in which to do an hour's walk. So I might drop the pace a bit and enjoy myself. I'm really glad Heathrow's getting a third runway. Taking ever such a slight deviation. So just there you have Richmond Bowls Club, and at the other end of the greens, Richmond Bridge Club. Yep, very nice part of town. We're technically in the borough of Richmond, but we're on the wrong side of the Thames to be in the town of Richmond. So, don't quite know how that works, but nobody seems to mind at the Bridge Club, so there we go. Just coming up to Marble Hill House. And we still have an hour for the meeting, so everything's going rather well, because it's about 40 minutes from here, I reckon, maybe a bit less. So a bit of local history. This is Marble Hill House, fantastic building in the Palladian style. Very similar to Chiswick House. It's right on the Thames. There used to be a boat, a little ferry that went across many years ago before the bridges were built. And it was in private ownership, I think, until about 100 years ago. Classic, creepy old lady lived there on her own. But it's a wonderful place. So if you are ever in the East Twickenham, Richmond area, come and have a visit. The grounds are free. The house is, I think, possibly National Trust. If not, it's only a few pounds to get in. Shortcut / deviation continued. This is Orleans Park Gardens. It's more of a wood at the moment. Some of these trees are actually very old. but we'll come out back towards Twickenham town centre in a moment. Well, we've just come past Strawberry Hill House and St Mary's, so we're pretty much there, and it's only taken an hour and 10 minutes, so I've slowed my pace down to a crawl because I don't want to sit there waiting for everyone else to turn up. They have stunning wildflowers here at St Mary's in their grounds, a whole strip of them. A good reason to apply if you wish to do some universitying in this area. Lovely grounds, St Mary's. And you're very near Teddington, which is also lovely. In fact, everywhere around here is lovely. It's Flying Ant Day here in Teddington. I was just thinking, I wonder when Flying Ant Day is. Have I missed it? No, I have not. I'm right in the middle of it. I'm walking through a sea of ants. How lovely. Get off me, you little buggers. Kerry will be awfully pleased. She's a massive fan of Flying Ant Day. It doesn't usually happen in the evening, so this is slightly irritating. I always think Flying Ant Day is the ant equivalent of when the kids go off to uni, except all the kids are female. You don't need to give them a lift, and you never see them again. I think the Conservative Party might be giving them a call about copyright infringement. So it's another very nice day. It's a little grey, but very pleasant. I'm going to go out and pop into Kew in a minute once I've had lunch. This evening, as I mentioned, I'm going to Leavers dinner for some RHP board members, and then tomorrow's now quite busy because not only am I working in Camden, but we're doing some babysitting in Esher afterwards. So yeah, the week might have started slow, but it's going to end quite fast. Good evening. So I'm assured on good authority yesterday that it was Flying Ant Day here in Kew in TW9. So Flying Ant Day isn't even the same in very close proximus locations. Teddington was Tuesday, Kew was Wednesday. I'm curious, one day I'm going to come up with a website that actually maps it. You might say, why? And I would say the same reason people map things like UK snow and why did Radar Smileys? Because statistics can be fun. So after my little 6-mile walk on Tuesday to the AGM, I figured I'm going to have a bit more of a walk to another RHP event, although this one nowhere near as far. We're going to do a sort of mile there, and then I might walk home entirely, which would be 2.5. So I'm getting a few miles in, because this time last year, don't forget, we were actually training for the Shine Marathon. So we were doing like 20, 30 miles a week. So I think I'm slightly in, I feel like I'm missing that. I don't want to do that much, no way, but I do want to do something, and this is a good excuse when I get to walk around because the weather's so good. Why not, really? Especially as, you know, save you a couple of quid on a bus or a few pounds of petrol, whatever it is. But yeah, it's very pleasant. And you forget how close everything is when you're used to like taking public transport and you think, oh god, this is so slow. You're a bit spoilt actually, but it's only like, you know, half an hour walk here, hour walk there. It's not very much really in the grand scheme of things. I know whenever you see me walking along somewhere, so this next statement will seem completely ridiculous, so forgive me. But from my perspective, usually each year I have a walking holiday of 7 to 10 days, and then we have a beach holiday, which involves me swimming for like 5 or 6 hours a day. So there's quite a lot of, you know, outdoorsy activity stuff. And last year obviously did Shine on top of that. So this year we're not having a proper walking holiday, because the Lake District we really only went for 2 walks, and no beach holiday means that I kind of feel like I'm being a bit sedentary. So I'm trying desperately to compensate. I know what you're saying. You say go on a holiday then. No, we've been on lots of holidays. They just haven't been that kind of holiday. We're trying to save a bit of money so we can go on a big holiday next year. What that big holiday might be, it is currently too soon to tell. But when I know, obviously you will. Good evening. We've just had a wonderful leaving do at a beautiful venue on the river. and I'm sorry I didn't film it, but as always is the case with RHP things, I don't think it's appropriate. But you can take my word that it was lovely. It really was. And we've said goodbye to two very good board members, which is always a shame, but you know, these things change. Anyway, before we go, and before we get Friday and lots of general nephewing and fun and games, I just wanted to talk about my experience this evening. I got a very unexpected compliment from one of the board members who's leaving, who I find incredibly impressive. And as you might know, this is obviously the first board I've ever sat on, and so I'm looking to other people for inspiration. And this particular member is unbelievably smart and ever so good-humoured and interesting, and can make even the most otherwise boring topics appear very engaging. And I'm left a little bit shocked, if I'm honest. And before this conversation, I was feeling, when I was thinking about what these two board members have offered, I was feeling a little like I don't really bring enough to the party, and that I need to up my game a bit, if I'm honest. And this comment has kind of surprised me. That is to say, it's ever so welcome, and I'm ever so happy. I'm very surprised, and I'm going to use this as some motivation to really double down on this and really focus my attention a bit more, even more, I might say. Because, as I've mentioned before, amazing role, ever so happy, and I really want to feel like they're getting as much value as I am, because I'm getting a huge amount of value out of doing this. I can't begin to tell you how valuable it is to sit as a non-exec on a board. You should definitely do it, and I really want to give some of this back, and so I'm going to hone in on this right now. It is quite a beautiful day today, but I definitely drank too much wine last night. I blame John, and I'll be bringing up in his annual review. But you know, this makes it all better.